Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Can you describe, very briefly, what the show is?
Aaron, you start, man.
It is a theatrical smorgasbord, and I would argue masterpiece, where three actors play dozens and dozens of different characters, sometimes in a flash, sometimes for length. And it explores the history of America and capitalism from the particular perspective of three young Jewish men who show up in America hoping to do their thing, and as worship and regard for life and individuals turns into regard and love of money and digital and more, the play asks, is that good?
I think it's a very good description. I think it's a great description. It feels like, watching it for the third time a couple of weeks ago, it feels like quite a feat for actors. Like, is that a fair description?
It's something, I would say that for people who love storytelling, this is a perfect show to come see, because that's what it is at its essence. But for people who love acting, it's rare for actors to get a role where you get to use all your tricks, all your tools in your toolbox, so to speak, let alone for 3 hours, 3 hours straight. So it's challenging, it's exhilarating in that regard, but just the nature of the piece and the writing and everything, and working with these two gentlemen, it's pretty easy in the way it flows. So in the doing of it, it's starting it, the thinking of doing it is, but then you do it and it's like boom, 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 and it's time to go home.
It feels like that actually when you see it as well, because you think, oh God, I'm come here for a 3 hour plus play, and it just disappears like that. It's such a joyful kind of ride. I think
the other thing that makes it a treat for actors is that quite often, particularly the industry at the moment, you're asked to stay in your lane in terms of your casting bracket. You are, especially perhaps in the world of TV and film, you are only this. You are what you are in life, and you will be this. Whereas this play ignores any of those conventions and say you are everything. You are going to be expected to contain multitudes, and that is challenging and thrilling at the same time. So that's the invitation that the play asks of its actors and its audiences, I think.
And the reason the three of us are doing a Pointer Sisters musical,
yes,
that's because we can do anything
next.
Yes. You heard John.
Yeah.
It's also like a kind of proper ensemble show, isn't it? Like, there's no starring role. It feels like something where you have to work together, you have to collaborate.
Could you say that again for
Nancy, it feels like there's no starring role, but
sure, there's no star. No, that's I think that's what makes it. One of the things that I really love about the show is that it's the way I think all theater should be. Is it really is about the chemistry we have and working together, and not just the actors. It's there's the pianist, which is actually my favorite part of the whole piece is the underscoring of the entire show. Because as an actor, I forget that that's coming from a piano sometimes. It just feels like, it's your life is being underscored, automatically. But
I'm gonna get you, sucker. Soundtrack,
yeah. I got my own theme music. It follows me up around the streets of London.
Yeah, listen, Anissa Newman and Kat Beveridge are pianists worth mentioning, and they are, I
was also going to say the set and everything. The set dictates what we do sometimes, how we move. So it's very collaborative with the set, everything, costumes, everything. Really, very much so like this, all equal.
Yeah.
We don't tell them what to do. Sometimes the set rotates. You have to hit these points. It's choreographed.
Had you all seen the show before you were cast?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what kind of resonated with you in it?
I saw it very early on. I saw it in previews at the National before I knew anything about the play. I think I expected it to be about the fall of the bank, which is all I knew about Lehman Brothers, what happened in 2008. So that they were going to take this long view of history of 150, 160 years plus was an incredible surprise, really, and the magic trick of the play of that dancing between all the different parts and different periods of history. I think I was just you're kind of dazzled by it, which is an extraordinary thing to say about something which just has essentially at its heart 3 actors and a pianist and a set which stays the same. It's not bells and whistles. It's not, there's no sort of pyrotechnics going on, and yet from those simple ingredients you do come out wowed by it. And I think that was my main takeaway, really, if I'm honest, from it. I think if it works well, if it communicates well, then it can be overwhelming, I think, in the best sense.
Yeah, there's an elegant simplicity, and literally those 3 boys could have shown up as ghosts in that office, and that's all they use. They use those bank boxes and those markers and the chairs and the table that they're given. And I did not know it was even going to be the history, so I went as a sort of a friend of the couple people involved and was stunned because I thought, 2008, that's where we'll be. And then within 10 seconds, Henry appears, this young man with a suitcase, and we're in New York, and then we're in Montgomery within about 5 minutes.
Did you see it at the Armory?
I saw it at the Piccadilly.
Okay, so you saw it. I saw it when it first came to New York, before Broadway. And it was at the Armory, and it was... when I got cast in the show, eventually I told Sam that I'd seen it at the Armory. He said, that was more like an installation. Because the backdrop, like if this is the set, right now the screen is like this. This screen was like that.
Oh, right.
It was, because it's a huge space, and the floor too. So when I saw it, the visual aspects were a bit bigger. But what I remember, the thing that blew me away was I had never seen Simon Russell Beale perform live. And watching the first 15 minutes of the show, he was talking to the audience, and it was just quiet. You could drop a pin, could drop, and then he said this one line, and everyone just sort of laughed, exhaled at the same time. But it was at this powerful moment of, wow, this guy is holding, and it was just the story. It's the art of storytelling and the way that he was doing it, and then it builds on that, and then the rules start to be woven into the piece. Like, oh, okay, they're playing different characters, and then it slowly grew into this thing, and then it just takes off. Then you're like, you accept it, and you're part of it, and it's just like a ride. Like you said, it's a ride, and that's why I think it moves so quickly. It's one guy sets it up, then the other brother appears, another brother appears, and then they're off to the races.